You ever wondered how you can write Facebook compliant copy that actually comes through and you don't have to worry about whether your account's going to get shut down or a business manager is going to get shut down? Well, today I'm going to show you the simple strategy that you can use that completely follows Facebook's rules, but also gets your ad converting every single time. So if you've just joined my lives for the first time today, I'm Brian Czekanski. I'm a Facebook ad copywriter that focuses on those businesses and coaches that focus on moms as an audience. So when I first joined as a Facebook ad copywriter a couple of years ago, I always worried about what Facebook's rules were because they always were constantly evolving almost by the week when I first started. So words that you used a couple of weeks ago were completely fine, but the next week or something you can use. So it was completely tough, and it was something I was always worried about because whether you know it or not, Facebook can actually retroactively close down or shut down some of your ads, or retroactively shut down some of your ad accounts. So if you put out ads there today and they work, that doesn't mean they're going to last forever. Facebook can always come back and say the rules have changed. Those ads that you're running are no longer part of the rules. So you obviously have to always stay up to date. You always have to take a look at your ads and make sure that they're compliant. So today I'm going to show you just a simple strategy that I've used that has kind of made it a lot easier for me to figure things out. And I'm just going to show you a couple different slides, but the key example here is using your success stories, using those testimonials. And why does that work so well? It works so well because Facebook, especially when you're going direct and kind of speaking, trying to make that connection with your audience, it doesn't want you going directly and speaking negatively in any frame, shape, or mind. It doesn't want any of its subscribers feeling bad about themselves, especially as they go through the news feed. And every Wednesday, we'll go through this in a lot more detail. So in a couple of days, I'll go through what are those specific words you can use, general guidelines, and each week we'll get deeper and deeper into that. But the general guideline is that anytime you're using you and something negative, Facebook is not going to like that. So especially when you're trying to use some copy that really meets your potential prospect where they are, it's going to make it really difficult to say you and whatever problem that you end up solving. So the way to get around that is to use your testimonials, use those success stories, and use those transformational stories to talk about a third person that you've kind of solved their problems. So that kind of makes it a lot more indirect approach. So now you're talking about somebody that you've helped in the past. You're not addressing the audience directly. What you're doing is using your success stories as kind of a way, as kind of a way of providing that hope for those people that are struggling with those problems. And the good part is you can talk about where they were even before they worked with you. You can kind of meet your audience exactly where they are without saying the word you or addressing them directly. You're using that third person. Again, I showed you a little bit in the ads last week where you can use your own story as well. But today I really want to focus on those testimonial stories. It's something that I use with my clients all the time. It's actually one of the first things I ask for with new clients is, can you go out to your existing customers or your past customers and can I get a video or audio testimonial? And the reason why you want video or audio testimonials is you also want your Facebook ads to be using their language. So, like most of the people that you work with, most of the people that I work with speak the English language, but there's different nuances to it. There's different audiences that use specific words, phrases, and they know when they're in the right place because those are the kind of things that they talk about all the time. When they talk about their own problems or what their vision is for the future, they're going to use very specific words, very specific phrases. So getting those words and phrases back from your audience is really important. We don't want them writing out their testimonial because they're not going to give us as much information and detail, and they're going to start editing their work as well. So we want as much detail as possible. We want to be able for them to kind of speak eloquently about their story, kind of provide as much detail as possible. As a copywriter, it's funny how certain words and phrases don't mean much for the person giving the testimonial. But for me sitting here, just like, wow, that's the perfect statement. That's something I can use at the very top of my ad. So really getting people to speak about their story tends to give you a lot more information, tends to give you those specific words. You'll start to see, you'll start to hear the same words and phrases from your audience again and again and again. So that's really important, and just an easy way of doing it as we come through. So What I'm going to do is kind of just share my screen, and I'm just going to show you a testimonial guide that, again, I use with my. This is what I give my clients and say, this is what you should use. So I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Okay. So if I go through this testimonial guide, again, 5 questions makes it really easy. What the first one is, what were you looking for when you first came in contact with me? So the idea of this question is really get to, like, what were the problems that they were dealing with before they came in contact with you? This is great for your Facebook ad because we want to meet our audience exactly where they are right now, kind of talk through the problems, what they tried, all those kind of things. So we want to kind of get that from your success story and saying, like, okay, what were all those things that you tried before? One of the things that I love for testimonials is kind of talking about, what was that absolute low point? Where was that point where you're just so desperate for help, or your problems were just so deep that can you bring us to that single moment? And that's awesome for Facebook ads as well. If we can kind of bring people to that single moment, what you'll typically see is those success stories that you have. They have those low moments or those trigger moments that we've talked about in the past that are just like the rest of your audience. So if we can kind of collect some of those low moments and really connect with your audience and saying, like, you've probably been through this situation in the last few weeks. Well, I've got a success story that had that same low moment. And look, I can give you hope through their story by telling you what they went through, what they're going through right now, telling you a little bit more about my business, my product, my service that kind of got them to the other side. Again, number 2 is, like, what were all those things that you're worried, concerned, hesitant about before you hired me? This is all about those objections. So again, being able to kind of identify what were those key objections that your past clients had, probably gives you a good idea of what your potential audience has as well. And within your Facebook ads, you can start addressing those up front, whether it's price or just the fact that they were kind of scared to get help. I see that a lot in the personal development space, where a lot of people just asking for help is something that they've never done before. So kind of addressing that objection up front with your success stories is really good. And then we get into kind of the transformation, like, what were the results and how this compared to your initial expectations. So again, in the typical Facebook ad, and we're going to test out various different ways, but in the standard format that I use for success stories, we're going to start out by connecting with our audience, talking about the problem that they're dealing with, some of the things that they tried. We're going to quickly get into that transformation, like all the great things they were able to achieve once they've kind of worked with you or bought your product or those kind of things, to kind of future pace and give them an idea of what working with you is like. And then kind of get into a little bit more. So number 4 is all about, what did you like best about your experience with me? So again, this kind of gets into kind of your unique formula. This is where you start to introduce your unique mechanism or unique formula that kind of was the main difference between all the things that they tried before and that key to success. So this kind of gets into kind of the second section of that ad, in that we're really presenting or introducing your solution, talking about why it's so unique. It's nothing like they've tried before, and it was able to get them the results that they were looking for. Really easy to go about. And the final one is just, what would you recommend me and my coaching to a friend? Some people will say, some people will just say, yeah, that's I would definitely do that. And other people will give a lot more information. Just opens up with an open-ended question. What are some of the other things that they might add in there potentially? So those are kind of the 5 key questions that I would put out there. In the comments below, what I'm going to do is give you two testimonials that I got from some of my clients that followed the same structure, that actually I gave them these 5 questions. They went through it question by question. So you'll see how I was able to get a response of what it might look like for your clients as well. The other thing I'm going to do is just bring up a couple of different examples of what this looks like from an ad copy perspective. So I just wanted to show you 2 recent examples of what it might look like, to give you an idea of, once you get those responses, how can you potentially put it together. So just give me a second to pull it up. Share my screen again. Okay. So this is just going to go through. I'll give you just 2 examples. So again, the key thing is just going out there and making it part of your process to always ask for, especially those clients that are getting results at the height of their happiness. Let's go out to them, ask for a video testimonial, ask for an audio testimonial. If that becomes difficult, you're getting a lot of pushback. What I usually do is like, let's jump on a Zoom call and let's record that call. And let me just ask you a series of questions around that. And if you're interviewing them, that's where you can make sure that they're hitting those specific moments, like take me to that low point, take me to that high point, and really bring out that detail as much as possible. More and more, that's what I'm doing right now, is kind of just interviewing people on Zoom to make it more like a conversation, to make sure that you're getting all that great detail that you can use within your Facebook ad and use on your sales page or whatever it is that you have there. So what we're looking at here is just an example of a success story brought to life within this Facebook ad, and you'll see some common phrases that I use within the 2 examples. But right here at the top, ever notice how people that work the most hours aren't the most successful? There's a reason for that. So kind of starting with like an intriguing question to bring in this testimonial to kind of set the scene for it. Again, what you're going to do within those sound bites is kind of test out various different angles. So I like to test out 4 or 5 different sound bites to see the one that works best along the way. And I get into the testimonial. Joanne's clients raved about her, and she put in more hours and travel time than anyone. But for 3 years in a row, her less talented peers were getting promoted and earning more than her. So again, what we're doing is kind of addressing a problem that one of your prospects might have. But if we used you in this instance, if we talked about, like, are you sitting there and everybody's are all your clients raving about you and you're traveling more than anyone, but it doesn't seem like you're getting promoted? You can kind of see how that's more like, again, talking about those more negative problems or things that they're dealing with. Facebook is going to go through that and it might approve your ad, but over time it's going to maybe cost a lot more because you're putting you with a negative type of situation. So again, by using Joanne's story as a way to kind of bring this to life, people can kind of associate their story with other people's story. And as we go through that transformation, in the same way, we can kind of connect with them, give them hope, and build that trust that you can actually help them along the way. Again, kind of goes into the problem a little bit more. No matter how much work your industry put in, she couldn't move the needle anymore. Truth is, I've been there too. So for this one, I tried to bring in the actual personal story of the actual coach, in this case, a productivity coach. And he talks about a little bit about his problems a little bit as well. And the reason this is really effective is it allows you to kind of introduce your process and kind of bringing in a success story, but also talking about your story to build that know, like, and trust factor with you and not just Joanne. And then kind of getting to that transformation. And then, getting into the transformation here, making a few shifts can make all the difference. You're closer than you think. It's always darkest before the light. In fact, we're always tempted to give up and throw in the towel when we're just inches from the goal. So again, kind of reaching out and connecting with the audience is saying, like, okay, it might seem like you have to go, it might seem like you are so far away from your goals, but actually they're right there with you. And that's really for this audience, they know they're searching for a ton of different solutions. They knew it was kind of right on their doorstep. It was just a matter of kind of finding the right one. Then it talks about kind of like simplifying your business strategy and where I'm spending my time could lead to outsized results. So again, talking about the transformation. Then introducing the solution. So for this one, it was all about the pillar system to create a weekly strategy so simple it could fit on an index card, but so powerful it created 7-figure earners and licensed by some of the largest companies in the world. So again, building some credibility around that solution as you're going through. Again, as they go through the ad, that might be enough for them to click through. And then what I did at the bottom is I kind of can just continue the story. So again, at the bottom, Joanne started executing on our index card business plan in late 2015. Talked about all the key results. So her sales were up 40% year over year. She finally got the promotion. And she lost 36 pounds as well, something she also struggled with for years. So again, I'm talking about her problems, talking about the coaches, and bringing in kind of that coach as well to build that know, like, and trust factor, introducing that product, and then bringing it back to Joanne and talking about her results all along the way to kind of complete the picture and give, again, additional motivation for our audience to say like, okay, this product works. Look at all the results on the other side. And all you have to do is hit that link. So that's one of them. I want to go through one other example at the bottom here. And this one is for a life coach. And again, starts out with a success story. But again, we're going to start with kind of meeting the audience exactly where they are. She's been in therapy for several years, but something wasn't connecting. Things weren't getting any better. So for this one, the audience had tried therapy, had tried other solutions, but nothing seemed to fully get them over the hump. So I'm really trying to connect with the potential audience here and saying like, this success story has also gone through the path that you've gone through, and they're able to see success. Again, we're going to introduce the success story here. Amy supervised so many people and she felt like she couldn't do it anymore. It felt like she was carrying around overflowing buckets of issues and stress every day. Her imposter syndrome constantly reminded her that she wasn't up to the job. And again, this is where I kind of introduce the same personal, the personal story here as well. Again, I use the same line. Truth is, I've been there too. Just a simple transition line. I kind of use it frequently, but it's it's an effective way to kind of go from the success story to potentially your own story, to kind of bring that in as well, to kind of build that know, like, and trust factor. I've always believed I wasn't good enough and didn't matter, living with constant stress. So again, meeting the audience exactly where they are but instead of calling them out directly, we're using this coach's story to further connect with them. And that's when we introduce the story. So again, for this one, it's all about a free training where you discover how to develop healthy coping mechanisms so you can become more emotionally and physically resilient in the face of stress. So kind of a webinar that goes through different solutions, offers some techniques. So if you're dealing with the problems that we talked about earlier up in the ad, which again, if we were more direct, it would go against Facebook's rules, but because we're being more indirect by using Amy's story, but also the coach's story, we can do it in a transformational way, but also follow the rules of Facebook as you went along. And then again, here's where we're going to feature pace a little bit as well. We're talking about that transformation when we introduce the free training here. So you never have to spend time living in the waters of negative and painful thinking that undermines your happiness and takes a physical toll. You'll live a life where you feel calmer, lighter, and more relaxed. You get access to the entire video training free by clicking the video below. And this is kind of it. And then just a couple bullet points to kind of build a little bit of curiosity. So 3 simple techniques, an easy tool for erasing your automatic negative thoughts, making your brain the biggest cheerleader instead of the biggest enemy. Click below to get all that stuff. So again, the idea of anytime you're trying to connect with your audience, what we're trying to do there is really bring it back to what do you want to do? So again, one of the key things with Facebook ad compliance is you don't want to really be speaking directly to your audience in a negative light. So we don't want to be meeting them exactly where they are, talking about their problems by using you and their problems. One way of getting around that, and one of the most effective ways that I use it, is using those testimonials that you get from your success stories. I want to ask them for video or audio testimonials, whatever they're most comfortable with. If those two are kind of still a headache that you're seeing, jump on a Zoom call with them, just interview them and give them those 5 questions that I mentioned before, which are all about kind of like, what were those problems that you had before you hired me as a coach or bought my product? What were some of those things that you were hesitant about before you hired me or bought my product? All about finding those objections so you can kind of weave those into your Facebook ad copy, and then really trying to bring out kind of the success stories. So like, what were some of your results? How did you feel in some of those environments? Again, want to get as much as possible from our success stories, kind of specific moments, so that our audience can kind of reflect and think about those specific emotional moments that they're dealing with right now, and allow your success stories to kind of paint the picture of what your potential prospects can go through as well. So in using those success stories, we're going to start out by in kind of the standard format that I use, start out by connecting them by introducing that story of your success story, where they were before they met with you. Go directly and go very quickly into that transformational story. So what are all the great things that they've been able to accomplish or experience on a day-to-day level by after working with you or buying your product, to kind of provide that future pacing along the way. And then offers a very good entry point for you to introduce your product, your unique formula, to get that moving in the right direction and going from there. And really providing why is your product or service something different than what they've tried before. So again, recognize that most audiences will come very skeptical to your product or your ad. So we want to be able to kind of knock down those objections, talk about how your solution is nothing like what they've tried before. Because if it is like they've tried before, then, again, they're going to say, I've tried that before. It didn't work for me. I'm not going to try it again. So again, being able to kind of make it differentiated, make it unique so that it gives them hope that it can potentially coming through. Again, as you go through your success stories, if you can kind of weave in your own story to build that know, like, and trust factor, that's very helpful as well. But again, making sure that you are as you're getting people results, asking for those audio and video testimonials. Again, we want their specific language being used. Certain words and phrases can be the difference between a high converting ad and one that performs inline. So really think about using their own words back in the Facebook ad. That's going to be really helpful with connecting to your ideal clients that have kind of sat in their same shoes along the way. So with that, tomorrow I'll get into a little bit more about Facebook tracking. If you want even more information about Facebook advertising, how to write the compelling ad copy that fits Facebook's rules, go to my website at mindsetcopy.com. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for my next live about